Hello everyone! Welcome back to another 2v2 with me and Surreal. I am bringing the Red Duke and Mousillon, the Vampire Counts, and Surreal is bringing some Wood Elves with the Glade Lord leader. We are facing off against the Dwarves and Empire for this one on a map called the Nightlands, and I had to turn off shadows for the cast here because with any kind of shadows on, this map is like nearly pitch black, and when we were playing, I actually had to turn on unit markers at all times to even see where my units were. Like, it is really dark. So it's going to look a little weird without any shadows, but I had to do it so you can actually see what the hell's going on. From our front line here, we have Graveguard, one of this Discernment. I have 4 Graveguard with great weapons, 2 Blood Knights, of course the Red Duke as well, and then a group of Cairn Race and the Claw of Nagash for my army. For Surreal, we have a Wildwood Ranger, Sister of Thorn, 2 Deepwood Scouts with the Swift Shiver Shards, Shards. Then we also have 2 War Dancers with the Spears, 3 normal War Dancers, as I said, the Glade Lord, 2 Hawk Riders, front line of Eternal Guard with Spears, and then a Waystalker. The enemy for this game took a very defensive-focused build. They are backed up against this terrain, which we can't get through. So the front line here, Ironbreakers, 2 Longbeards, front line of Dwarf Warriors with great weapons, Miners, a Thane, Hammers, 2 of them. Then we get into 2 Flagellants, multiple Spearmen, 3 Free Company Militia, a Steam Tank, Volkmar the Grim Unmounted, Bright Wizard. Then we also have the Silver Bullets, 4 Thunderers. Then behind them we have the Hammer of the Witches, Mortar, Warrior Priest, Ungrim Iron Fist, and then 2 Dwarf Cannons. And they are flanked by the Halberdiers, and of course their back is protected. So we have line upon line upon line upon line before you even get to the artillery. If you go from the front. So let's press play. Oh, also there's a group of Outriders out here. The normal ones with the guns. Yes, I believe. So right now we don't even see the enemy army because this hill is actually blocking our view. But as soon as Hawk Riders start to come over here, we can see like, oh, like we see like a little bit of Longbeard. So like, oh, okay. And then we see the front line of doors. Like, okay. Then we see the artillery, and then we see everything. And we're like, okay. That's multiple lines of a very defensive focused build with a lot of artillery and a steam tank. So like, okay. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to reorganize my troops. We're going to try and hit their left side. Because if you see back here, all this stuff is open currently. And most of the dwarf troops is centered over here. So I'm just going to be like, nah, I'm cool. And so we're going to go like this. I'm going to leave my Graveguard with great weapon to fight the dwarves. So the Graveguard with great weapon are going to be fighting like right here. But the normal Graveguard, the Sternsmen, my Blood Knights, the Red Duke, they are all going to be coming over on this side to try and smash through the side these Halberdiers which are protecting them and get into all of the squishy bits. All these bits up in here. And I believe Surreal's army is also going to be marching mostly towards the enemy's left as well. Is what he's going to be doing. In the meantime, though, we are going to be assailed by these multiple cannons. Hammer the Witches. The mortar team's going to start to fire here in a moment. See old Happy Ungrim Iron Fist back here. Warrior Priest back here. And then we start taking fire from the multiple Thunderer groups. Actually taking more damage from the mortars, though, just because of our block chance with these Graveguard. Going to get into these Dwarf Warriors who are so very tanky, especially with the recent patch for the game. Yeah, very tanky. So we don't really want to fight. Like, the enemy obviously wants us to go boom, boom, boom. But why do what the enemy wants you to do? So you can see we are getting our positions up and ready over here. And the enemy is responding by pulling some of the spearmen down and is trying to form a line right here. But even still, we only have to go through very weak spears and a halberd to get to the squishy bits, as opposed to going through Dwarf Warrior, Spearmen, Flagellants to get there. So this is still a better trade-off. I am going to start using the ability, the Summon Undead, to try and tie up these Silver Bullets and any other of these Thunderers, the Free Company Militia that I can with the Red Duke. That is why I'm putting him up here. There's not really a way to breach the lines currently, so I'm going to leave both of my Blood Knights back here, and they are just going to wait for the hole to open up. So you can see my Graveguard is slowly going around along with all of these War Dancers, and we're going to be hitting the enemy's left flank, and we're just leaving the right flank alone. There's really no reason to fight it, to go through all these hammers, just no reason at all. Dwarves are slow, and so I'm leaving my Graveguard with great weapons up here to just try and halt the dwarves' advance so they can't come around behind us. So that's what my Graveguard with great weapons is going to be doing up here, and you can see I'm going to try and keep them alive as long as possible. They've also been buffed, well, were buffed by the Shield of Thorns, but now they are hit with the Undeath Resurgent and Evocation of Nehek, because we need to make sure that the dwarf player cannot easily flank us and come in behind, because that would be, well, that would be very bad. Over here, Volkmar the Grim got a little too crazy, especially since he's not on his mount, and he is going to be fighting against the Red Duke and the Blade Lord from Surreal. I'm getting my Claw into Gash in here to try and do its AoE damage and get into the midst of these Free Company militia to silence them. In the meantime, the Steam Tank, I believe, is fighting against some Skeletal Warriors that I've summoned. I believe I've summoned 3 over here so far. Yeah, we have 3. Meanwhile, we have a group of War Dancers and Graveguard trying to chew through the Halberdiers. And again, as soon as these Halberdiers fall, we have forces ready to just go in and clear out the back. It's going to be like the can opener action is what is happening over here. Then up on the hill over here, we still have just the Graveguard holding, the Wild Rangers are holding all these Dwarf Warriors, doing what we can. I also threw our Can Race in there to try and take out some of their armor. You can see the Iron Breakers over here doing they're doing damage, I guess, to these Spear War Dancers. Another evocation of Nehek going down on our main line of Graveguard, and we are starting to punch through. We have already routed the Silver Bullets due to all these Skeletal Warriors we summoned there, and just getting through with the Graveguard. You see we have some routing Spearmen over here. Flame Pillar being dropped by the enemy's Bright Wizard. We did actually kind of run into it because I was trying to force their way through the rest of the Halberdiers, but now they are broken, so now my 2 Blood Knights are going in. The Red Duke of Mousillon is going to go in, I believe, even though he's currently stuck over here. And then also, I believe, War Dancers and then Graveguard. We're all going to be piling in here. And you can see that they are starting to take out the enemy's artillery positions and their warrior priests and just other squishy bits back here with all of the guns. Which I believe the enemy is actually going to slowly pull their guns back over here. You can actually see already a couple of the Thunderers have made their way up here already. Probably because the Dwarf player realized what we were doing. And yeah, so as soon as those Halberdiers were done, you can see the floodgates opened. All these units, including the Sisters of Thorn. Oh no, the Hawk Riders are now back here. And we are taking out those cannons and the mortar teams and the Thunderers that have remained. Meanwhile, Volkmar the Grim has been killed at this point, I believe. Yeah, I believe our Glade Lord and the Red Duke murdered Volkmar the Grim. We do still have Ungrim Iron Fist, but I'm just going to move these Graveguard past. There's no reason to fight Ungrim Iron Fist, so I'm just going to give them the move order. There you see, because I want them to go over here and deal with the infantry lines. We'll leave Ungrim for last, because there's really no reason to fight him. You can see a Curse of Unrun here dropped from the Sisters of Thorn, lowering the speed and accuracy of all the units nearby. Sisters of Thorn are pretty cool. Meanwhile, the Graveguard with great weapons and the backup of the War Dancers are just still continuing to hold the lines upon lines of Dwarven Warriors back here, so they're doing really well. Waywatch has been just sniping abilities here and there. I believe he sniped... Actually, I'm not sure what he sniped. I think it was Thunderers, but I can't remember. So yeah, the back line of our 2 enemy players at this point has just been overwhelmed with Graveguard, our heroes, and the Blood Knights. We have charged in, cycle charged out. Now this group of Blood Knights is over here dealing with the Blood Knights and what remains of the Flagellants and Hammers that were sent in to try and reinforce this line. You can see the other one right there of the 2, but they are just overwhelmed with so much fire pouring into them at this point. And now we have Terror being affected on the Spear and Halberdier units here from our, I believe, a Glade Lord. Red Duke is going to just leave here. I don't think I have any Skeletal Warriors left. I think this may have been one of my last ones that I could summon. But that is okay, because at this point you can see we have routed off a lot of the forces. Some of the Dwarf forces managed to regroup up here and are currently being assaulted by Surreal's Hawk Riders. They tried to get a Thunderer line up, and you can see, well, a couple of them are firing, including the Outriders, but I'm going to be sending the Blood Knights over here to try and assist this one, and then the other one is going to come up behind. Red Duke is going to be fighting against Ungrim Iron Fist here, but I think right now he's routing off the Warrior Priest. No, the Bright Wizard. He's routing off the Bright Wizard. And then I think he's going to go for Ungrim Iron Fist here very soon. The Steam Tank is still up. We are trying to take it down with our Claw of Nagash, our Graveguard, the Wildwood Rangers, I think, are here. War Dancers are here. And the rest of our forces were up here to try and rout the Dwarven Warriors. And you can see that without their leadership and the losses of the enemy side, they are going to go into a mass rout at this point. So they are just going to be leaving from the battlefield, leaving only the unbreakable units left, which is Ungrim Iron Fist and this Steam Tank. The Steam Tank, I believe, will go first, and then Ungrim will as well. So a very defensive formation from our Dwarf and Empire enemies, but you can see that it did have a weakness in that we only had to tear through one unit over here and then just go through. As soon as that Halberdier unit was destroyed, that was it. We took out all of their artillery. We got the rest of their Thunderers, their Free Company militia back here. Also, what helps is the summoning of the Undead spell. That is a strong spell. I will hesitate to say that it's overpowered with the 7 charges and the casting, because you are mostly going to overcast it to get skeletons at 3 cost. And the thing is, there is kind of an additional cost on top of the initial Winds of Magic, and that is you can miscast and hurt yourself. But as a vampire faction, or as the undead, at least your miscasts can be healed through most of the time. So even that drawback isn't necessarily a terrible thing. And what you can do is you can just get a very cheap necro. You know, hold on. Well, I'll just show you. So anyway, let's go over the kills first. And again, can't show the other ones. But for me, we have 8 kills on the Red Duke. He just had him running around summoning skeletons and trying to snipe heroes with his LC ability, I think it's called. The one that drastically reduces the defensive capabilities of heroes. I dropped that on Volkmar, and I believe the Warrior Priest. Maybe Ungram at the very end, I can't remember. Graveguard line did really well. Karen Race got 41 kills against the dwarves. The Graveguard with great weapons, when supported by the healing magics of the Invocation of the Heck, killed a lot of dwarf warriors. A lot of dwarf warriors. Stearnsman also did really well, and then the Blood Knights, they had a little late charge in the game, but once they got in the back line, it was over. And then the Claw of Nagash netting 73 kills. I had to heal that a couple times because that was getting focused down by Thunderers for a little while. Or something. Something was destroying the hell out of it. For our opponent here, K9, we have 10 kills on Volkmar. He got a little too separated from his infantry and was surrounded and killed. Bright Wizard netting 52 kills with spells and melee is pretty good. Warrior Priest kind of got killed by the Glade Lord and the Red Duke. Spearline did not hold that long due to terror and fear nearby and just getting massacred. The Flatulence, 101 kills is pretty good. Halberdiers, one of them held pretty well. Free Company, one did really well. And then the Silver Bullets got 83 kills. I think a lot of that was against my Skeletal Warriors who were fighting them in melee. Outriders 22 is really not that impressive. And the Artillery, the Steam Tank got 85 kills. But again, I think a lot of that is against skeletons. But good game to K9, Angel of Warrior, and Surreal. And so what you can do, again, why it's really powerful to bring the Raised Dead. Because you don't necessarily have to do it with your... what's going on here? With like the Red Duke, you don't really have to risk his hit points. You don't have to risk a Vampire Lord or any of these guys. All you gotta do is get a cheap Necromancer, take off most of his abilities, maybe leave on Master of the Dead, and then just do that. There you go. For 436, you have a very expendable unit that can, you know, cast Raised Dead. The downside of this though is that they have to also probably be on a Nightmare, just so that they can go around the field very quickly and drop the skeletons where you really want them, or you can unmount them to make it cheaper. But again, this is a very expendable Necromancer that you don't care if they miscast like every single cast of Raised Dead. So again, you don't have to incur the miscast chance on your lords. You can just get cheap Necromancers, put them on a Nightmare if you really want to, or don't. It's up to you. But a very cheap way. And so because the Vampire accounts can just heal through miscast chance, unlike the other factions in this game. Although, I guess if you have access to a Jade Wizard, you too can also heal through miscast, like the Empire and Wood Elves. But still, that kind of just further makes that spell even stronger, because you don't really have to worry about the downside of miscast. So I really think that that spell should be changed a little bit. I'm not saying it needs to be drastically changed. Just a little bit. Either increase the Winds of Magic to like 4... and 5, I don't know. Change it a little bit. Maybe drop the amount you can summon down to 5, or either increase the Winds of Magic up to at least like 4 base, 5 overcast. Because I think it's too easy, and it's too good. It's now up in that too good realm. It's like with Flock of Doom, too good not to take. Invocation of the Heck, too good not to take. You know, those types of spells now. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. But I feel like it's really too strong for the Vampire account specifically anyway. But with that said, let's jump into a cinematic view of the battle against the Empire and the Dwarves. Elves and undead fighting side by side. What a world. Heads down! Nice spot for the Thunderers, being able to fire over the heads of all their frontliners. I just kind of noticed the ground here. Is this like cooled lava? What is this? I don't know. Volkmar. Don't see you off the chariot that much. More dwarves coming in. Oh man, these flagellants getting hit by those scouts. That's pretty good. Nice target. Also, like, maybe they could just lower the amount you can cast on most lords and our necromancers, and then, like, give Krell some love by having him be the only one that can summon 7 skeletons in a match. Everyone else is like down to 5, you know? Just a little thing. Listen, I just have a soft spot for Krell, and I want him to be better than what he is. So give him that. Give him something. Let him summon Krell. I don't know. Do anything. Make Himmler better. Hashtag for Himmler. I don't know. So in the hotfix that Bethesda, that CA announced, these Wildwood Rangers are getting a pretty nice buff. So I may actually use them more in multiplayer. Also, the range of all of the like Glade Guard and the Deepwood Scouts and the Weight Watchers, all their ranges are being increased by +20. Glade Lord is going to be increased by +20. Also, missile damage on most of those units are being increased. A huge buff to the Wood Elves in this hotfix that is not quite out yet, but it's going to be out soon. I know at this point, at the time of this recording, you can go into the properties for Warhammer and then join the beta for it. Oh, can opener's been open, or can's been open. Blood Knight's in. So yeah, it's going to be a whole new world of Wood Elves after this hotfix goes live for everybody. I haven't played a game yet, but man, I think maybe they went a little too far. Because I've read the forums. Like, Reddit forums have been up in arms about just how shitty the Wood Elves are. I don't agree. I think most people are trying to play Wood Elves like they would play the Dwarves or the Empire, you know, but you can't. That's not what they were really for. And I think CA maybe overtuned them a little bit, but we'll see. Maybe they didn't. It's not even live yet. Well, yeah, it's not really live yet. But giving the Wood Elves +20 range over any other unit in the game, any other foot archer in the game, I don't know, man. I know some people are like, yeah, but the Wood Elves, it makes sense. They're supposed to be the best archers. Yeah, maybe. But for gameplay point of view, man, I don't know. I'm wary. Besides that, though, I do like the Wildwood Ranger changes. Also, I think the Weight Watchers were decreased by 100 in cost on top of getting buffed as well. I definitely think they should have been made cheaper. Let's see how they are. And these guys, like, their melee defense got buffed by +7. I think their cost was decreased as well. Melee attack increased by +2, and their armor piercing damage by +4, I think? Or maybe it was just normal damage +4. One of the two. And then even the Eternal Guard, the Spearmen for shield and unshielded version, their cost has been decreased by 50. Bye, dwarves. But, like, I've been able to win as the Wood Elves. And, like, a lot of these battles that I've fought as Wood Elves so far haven't even really been that close. Like, it's not always been on the edge, like, oh my god, it could go either way. Like, nah, it's been kind of decided early on in the battle. Again, I think maybe not everybody was playing them. I'm not going to say play them right. Like, who am I to say how they're actually supposed to be played, but I feel like they were supposed to be relying a little bit more on skirmishing, ambushing, you know, just different tactics, not the straight up infantry line, archer line, cav on the flanks, yada 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 that every other army does. I think we're at the end of the game at this point, yeah. So it's just going to be the Steam Tank and Ungrim, so I think that's going to do it for the cinematic view, everybody. And my thoughts on the hot patch, or hot fix, and Raised Dead, how maybe it's just too much. Not saying it's overpowered, I'm just saying it's a very strong spell at this point. Or maybe that's not a bad thing. I mean, I don't know. I kind of go back and forth, because on the one hand, undead should be like the thing. You should be able to summon hordes of undead as the undead faction, I guess. Yeah, thank you for watching, everybody, and I will see you all in the next episode. This is a bloody forest dragon. Holy shit. Like, look at all this blood. This dragon has seen some action. Like, you could imagine, like, this moss with all the blood almost looks like entrails as it's just like gored all of its opponent. Jesus. Even the rider, I think, is all. Look at her, like, man. Listen. Fantasy war is a bloody thing, especially when you have a blood and gore mod installed. I don't know. Take care, everybody.